Water is an essential component of life. People have theorized how you could get life or the proliferation of life evolving without water, but they usually use a substance that acts as a water substitute, like ammonia. Can you imagine ammonia-based life forms? God, that would be disgusting. But you can't really get a system of life in our universe without a liquid component, or if liquid-absent life is possible, we're apparently not creative enough to theorize how it would work. And therein lies the heart of the problem. Solid matter is easy enough to simulate in-game. It's solid stuff, can be broken down into smaller pieces, and is not hard to conceptualize. But other forms of matter and the true nature in which they function are actually harder to simulate than you would think. We can't reformulate the true model of physics that our universe runs on because we don't actually fully understand it yet, let alone the problems computers would have simulating trillions of individual water molecules. What this means is that generation of water in video games is an illusion. Every way that it's programmed facilitates the appearance of water behaving the way it does in real life, but find an action or way to mess with water that developers didn't anticipate and watch the illusion come apart. Water in Minecraft didn't try very hard to emulate real-life water. This makes sense because Minecraft isn't actually trying to emulate real life in the way games like Skyrim would be, where the goal is to continually make characters look more realistic, the endgame being a hyper-realism or completely indistinguishable to reality. Minecraft is trying to amuse you with its cutesiness. It works on me. Now, water in Minecraft is meant to achieve very specific goals in terms of its split responsibilities, seeming like a Minecraft equivalent to real-life water, and serving as an aspect of the game mechanics to achieve the game's ultimate purpose in design. That's where the two primary water spread mechanics come in. You have water source blocks, from which water spreads from a limited radius to 8 blocks unless the flow travels downwards a block, in which case the distance resets. You also have a water source block multiplication, where if there are 2 water source blocks and an air block between them, you'll have the water spread mechanic fill in that spot with a water source block, which gives you infinite water source. These two mechanics are meant to provide Minecraft realism to the concept of water, so it can spread under the right circumstances, and flows under the desired circumstances, such as a water stream going downwards through an underground cave. But what can we do to break apart this illusion of water consistency? We can make a mod that generates the Earth's real-life terrain in Minecraft 101 scale that simulates the environment we live in to a video game. As easy as this is for the solids, such as dirt, stone, wood, and concrete, it plays havoc when you attempt to simulate the existence of water in this world with Minecraft's current water mechanics. Let's go with a simple example. Niagara Falls. How are you going to simulate a waterfall with Minecraft's water mechanics? Even if you put water source blocks to simulate its shape, the source block multiplication mechanic will extend the shape in weird ways, causing the water to start multiplying into the air and out of control. Similarly, any stream that runs sideways, in an odd direction, or even mostly just straight downhill can end up flowing in unanticipated ways from Minecraft mechanics, almost always causing a mess. The worst example of this is water and lava that's not actually supposed to be there. Mountains like Everest and other mountain ranges within Terra 1-1 use underground terrain generation as their inner mass, which very often is exposed to air to act as a mountain's side of solid rock. But this means that the random water and lava source blocks will occasionally generate on the mountain's side, the same way they do in Minecraft Underground. The way the terrain is generated then allows the water and lava to continually spread wider and wider until the entire side of Mount Everest is bathed in water, lava, or both, stemming from a single source block near the top of the summit. Of course, the game is likely to crash before it gets that out of control, and that's the problem. Minecraft's base liquid mechanics create outcomes that threaten to crash the game itself when trying to simulate real-life terrain. But as problematic as the nature of water mechanics might be for the simulation of water streams over land in real life, it shouldn't be a problem for the ocean. The ocean works the same way the sea level of Minecraft works, because the ocean is perfectly flat. Or is it? Knowing the properties of water, it seems impossible to think of a body of water that wouldn't be flat. Even when struck by an outside force, the kinetic energy causing the non-flat surface eventually dissipates, and the situation resolves back to uniformity. But that's exactly it. What if you had a body of water that was continuously disturbed by forces other than the constant force of gravity? You would have a continually disturbed body of water whose exterior reflects the violence continually afflicted upon it, never fully resolved. And something like this is the situation we find ourselves in with Earth's oceans. If you notice at your local beach, the tide moves in and out. Most of us don't think about it because most of us never really notice it. The tide doesn't change that much for the hour we spend visiting, but high tide from low tide can exhibit extreme differences, and it depends on where you are. Coastal water elevation for high and low tides can vary from close to 0 meters all the way up to 16 meters. This is caused by the gravity pressure of the moon, depending on where it is in the sky. Fortunately, we wouldn't have to engage with the complex question of simulating this process because the Earth in Minecraft isn't a continual timeline. It's a snapshot in time, a single three-dimensional state of the Earth at one point in a fourth-dimensional timeline. So since the tidal forces the moon inflicts upon our oceans acts as a seesaw effect, theoretically we could take this snapshot of the oceans right when the seesaw is level and have a perfectly flat ocean. Right? Well, it's not that simple. The sun to a lesser extent also affects the tides, making it a more complicated picture than just tide goes in, tide goes out. It's almost always unbalanced. But let's say that we can find the theoretical point where the sun and the moon are in perfect position for all the ocean water on Earth to be perfectly flat in an instance of time. That would resolve the problem. Right? It actually doesn't. Let's remove the concept of tide pulling altogether and just remove the sun and moon from the gravitational picture of Earth despite the monstrous environmental consequences it would have. We'll ignore that too. It turns out that even in those circumstances, the Earth's oceans still aren't flat. Scientists have been measuring the ocean's local elevations all around the world for a long time. They take all the measurements within a 19-year period and average them all together to determine the recent absolute local elevation. And it turns out that all these local elevations come up with different answers. What you're looking at is a chart of Earth-sea elevation that factors out the effect of tides by averaging over those 19-year periods. For example, the absolute water level along the west coast of the United States is higher than the east coast. The 19-year period of measurement is called a metonic cycle, and we can use this measurement to determine long-term changes in the moon's orbit and behavior, which is amazing to consider. So what exactly is causing all this variation amongst the ocean's absolute levels? Winds, currents, river discharges, even variation in temperature ends up expanding or contracting the volume of water depending on where you are. When water is heated, it gains more energy and the molecules of water move more, which creates more distance between them, which ultimately increases in volume, and the opposite happens when water cools. This adds up to significant differences in volume when you account for just how much water occupies the oceans, and the significant temperature differences across Earth, not to mention the geological activity at the ocean floor. The variation in magma under the ocean floor's crust provides differences in heating and cooling, which will also produce differences in volume. It's so close in some instances that magma is actually spilling out onto the ocean floor. We don't know what's going on down there. Wait a second. We don't even know what's going on down there. The ocean floor in Minecraft. How would we even create that? Less is known about the floor of the ocean in some regards than what we know about space. It's a complete mystery because there's way more ocean floor on our planet than there is land open to the air, and getting down there is extremely difficult and has only been possible in recent history. Even just measuring the depth is such a difficult and slow process with sonar that we've only measured about 5% of the Earth's ocean's actual depths. That's how much we don't know about it, aside from tourist hotspots like the ruins of the Titanic. And that's the reason. While you may have suspected the obvious answer that we can't explore the ocean's depths and thus can't accurately represent them in Minecraft, I had no idea that the surface of the ocean, while looking so flat and perfect from space or from your local beach, was actually so continually chaotic and uneven. Because of this, and the way that Minecraft water spreads you can expect what kind of havoc this would eventually play on the Earth in Minecraft. Water at higher elevations would eventually drown out the lower elevations. It could even possibly invade the land and start messing with coastal cities' elevations, as they see what looks like a massive tsunami wave headed their way to drown their families, vehicles, well, not vehicles, we went over that in a previous video, summer homes, and the first few floors of their skyscrapers and hotels. I wouldn't want to do that to the Earth in Minecraft, or in real life, in case I had to clarify that. So while we can just make the entire ocean flat if we want and call it a day, if we actually want to make this Earth replica accurate, then this is where we stand. I would recommend using the absolute points for local sea elevation in that map that we saw for the Earth in Minecraft. But that doesn't stop the water from spreading. It seems almost as if we should just disable that mechanic. It's really not doing anything for us. So I took a look. Amazingly, no mod or plugin I could find had a feature that did this. No game rule for do water spread to switch to false. 14 years of Minecraft and no one ever made it. So I ended up going to the Cubics Chunks Discord to ask, and they confirmed that they'd never seen that either. But I actually convinced one of the developers to make the mod. He did it that very day, and we put it up on CurseForge. It's that mod which helped me make the thumbnail of this video. If you want to check it out, a link is in the description. It's actually really cool what this mod can do. It disables both water spread and water flow, which allows you to paint with water source blocks in the air without any water shenanigans ruining the shape. This opens up incredible possibilities for creative builders, but it also allows us to define the shape of the non-flat ocean with water source blocks without any fear of water spread eventually destroying cities and coasts. Now, if you want to play the Earth in Minecraft in survival mode, the disabling of water's mechanics could become problematic, so we still have that incompatibility, which still posits the oceans, as they are, as a possible problem for the project as a whole. But in terms of troubleshooting the nature of the difference itself, we can at least say that we made considerable progress over the course of this video. But we've still neglected the largest insurmountable obstacle by far. We've only mapped less than 5% of the ocean's depths, and we've physically explored way less than that. Now, the Earth is staggering. The prospect of building it all is staggering. But when we say that, we're just thinking about the land and its titanic size. But the oceans make up 70% of Earth's surface. 70%, with almost entirely unexplored ocean depths, which means, in a way, we can't finish the Earth in Minecraft because the planet's most common environment is unavailable to us. The murky mysteriousness of the ocean depth has provided inspiration to humanity for as long as we've been able to witness it, and more recently, truly understand the staggering size of our ignorance on the topic. It almost reminds me of what it would be like to continually fall into one of the gas giants of Neptune or Uranus. The gaping maw contained with an all-pervasive gas that gets heavier and heavier the deeper gravity pushes you, until you find yourself in a quasi-underwater state. The Earth has that, plus a host of creepy unknown life forms and biology that lives deep within it. Species of marine life that we've never even discovered. One of the last places mostly untouched by human civilization that could hold a host of ancient species which, by nature, would need to be huge in order to survive the suffocating water pressure at those depths. We may very well explore most of our solar system before exploring and knowing the full nature of the depth of our oceans. And until we do, the Earth in Minecraft will continue to be an unfinished work in progress, waiting for science to catch up. A huge thanks to our top tier patrons, Almighty Svet, Ekalise, Jack Larson, Ji Yang, Megan Leckie, Pixie Gum, and the Demon Slayer. If any of you were a drink, I'd be pleasantly shit-faced. That means super drunk, because you're potent. Yeah. If you want to join me and the crew here at the end, consider joining us by becoming a top tier patron.